Halsey, thank you so much for making time for us today.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm so excited to have you here. And I think, God, you're looking at number one song, big album coming out, world tour, and
no pressure. When
no
you
pressure.
Put it like
that's right. Well,
Yeah.
Is it pressure, or do you actually get to enjoy this?
I mean, both. I think you can enjoy something that is pressure. It's definitely pressure. I think the coolest thing about this album for me is it's going differently than I thought it was going to. My second album the past couple years was a whirlwind. With the success of Without Me and with the record, I did my first arena tour. I was like, kind of all over the place. And I think I got very scared that it was fragile, like all of it was going to go away so quickly. And then I think once I kind of sorted through my priorities and I was like, okay, what matters to me? Is what matters to me having a number one and playing arenas, or is what matters to me what matters to me the fact that doing that means people are connecting with my music? And so once I sorted which parts of the equation were the important ones, it became more relaxing because I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get number one songs forever, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to sell at arenas for the rest of my life, but I know that I'm always going to be able to make music that I think is really honest and that I think my fans are really going to connect with. And so coming to that realization, I was like, I'm going to be fine. It's going to be okay. You know what I mean?
And I got to say, it's funny to hear you say that, you're the first artist to ever replace yourself at number one. Like
wow.
So the fact that after that you say, I don't know if this is going to last or if this is fragile. It's honest, but it's also very interesting because you would think from the outside looking in, it's like, I got this now.
I think one of the greatest lessons that I've learned in, having such a weird job, because when you make something and then it becomes your job, like the thing you love becomes your job, is such a weird thing. One of the biggest lessons I've learned is that as soon as I stop believing myself to be a student, that's when this whole thing's going to go south. As soon as you feel like you don't have anything left to learn, that's when you kind of you drop the ball on it. Like, as long as you wake up every day and you realize you still have more to learn, you still have ways to better yourself, like ways to improve, then I think that's like a pretty good way of sustaining things. I've seen even in more than just the music industry, like even like friends from home or like whatever, people who think like they've conquered their thing. Yeah. And it's like, you never fully conquer it. You need to keep learning and keep growing and evolving.
Well, you tweeted earlier this year that with this album you were holding off on it a little bit just because you were looking for perfection. You wanted to perfect this album. What is perfection to you now versus what it was then? And do you feel like the album's at that place? I mean, obviously art's never totally perfect.
Yeah. I mean, I would keep working on it forever if I could. I think everybody knows that. But I think, when you do first sit down to make the album, coming off of Without Me, this is number one song, whatever, I'm like, okay, how am I going to do that again? And then I was like kind of blocked up for a minute where I kept trying to write songs and I was like, something is wrong here. This isn't right. You know what I mean? This isn't what I'm supposed to be doing. And then I kind of the cool thing was I started working with like amazing musicians. I worked with Greg Kurstin, who's an incredible instrumentalist, and he's done records for Adele and the Foo Fighters and Florence and the Machine. And then, I worked with like John Cunningham, who is like, a young guy. He's like my age, like comes into my house with like his Pokemon backpack and like his little guitar, and like we just sit down and we're just like talking, and it was working with people like that kind of really helped me and brought me out of that headspace, because I started writing, the songs became more confessional, I think. They became more exactly what they are instead of trying to be something that they were not. And it was as soon as I started listening to the songs back and being like, whoa, like, okay, wow.
So they moved you.
Yeah. And I played it for my mom. I played it for my brother. The best thing I did when making this album is I played it for almost nobody. Like, my record company didn't even really hear it till it was done. And
wow.
Yeah,
bold.
Yeah. Some people some people really close to me haven't even heard it yet. And the reason I did that is because I didn't want everyone's opinion, not to be that way, but I kind of didn't want everyone's opinion.
Is it a doubt thing? Is it something where you're like...
No, it's the opposite. I think it's like I want to know that it's great because I think it's great.
Right, okay.
And then I played it for my mom, I played it for my brother, and they were like, my mom and my brother both cried when they heard it. And they've been listening to my music always, and like they don't cry when they hear my music. They're like, this is great, but this one they cried, and I was like, why are you crying? Is it bad? What's going on? Like, this is awful. And they were like, no, you sound like Ashley.
Wow.
So for my brother and my mom to be like, you sound like you know.
And that's the first time they said that.
Yeah, they sound like the version of you we know.
Wow.
And that's what was really like. I was like, okay, I did what I was supposed to do.
With Graveyard, there's a obviously in the pre-chorus, there's that when you go down all your darkest roads.
Yeah.
That's the hardest thing to do in a relationship, friendship, marriage, dating, whatever. When you think about what led to those lyrics and you talk about that sort of thing, that sort of sacrifice, because that's what the song feels like. It's sacrificing for love for someone else. Where did that come from? And when you finally put that down, when you finally write that down, you go, this is great.
Yeah, I think it was kind of, I had to close a chapter, I think I put out Without Me, and, I think Without Me was, coming from a place of hurt, and I think Graveyard comes from a place of growth, which is really important. I kind of had to close a chapter in a way with that song, and it felt nice to be like, there was a time in my life when I would have loved someone so blindly that I probably could have ruined everything for myself.
Right.
And it's cool to write a song and go, but I didn't. And here's the super awesome song to prove it. What I mean? That's it was a kind of a cool, a vindicating feeling in that way. But I think sometimes you don't realize, the positions you're putting yourself in when you're in love. And then, you step away from it and go, why did I do that? I was so stupid.
Doesn't even look like me anymore.
Yeah.
I would never do that.
And it can be something as dumb as there's, you see a video of yourself out one night and you're not acting like yourself, and you're like, why was I doing that? Or something as serious as you move all the way across the country and you're like, why did I do that? I didn't personally do that, but I know people who have, and it's you get that looking back moment where you're like, what was I thinking? It's
reach through and kind of grab yourself and go, stop.
It can make you crazy. And that's why I say in the bridge, I say the warning signs feel like hold on. I get my own song right for a second. I say the warning signs can feel like they're butterflies.
Right.
Because it's kind of you think you're nervous and in love and excited, but really it's your body's way of saying you're unsure about what's going on.
Right.
And that's and you don't realize that till after the fact.
Jeez.
Yeah.
That's I mean, that's every relationship you look back on.
Totally.
Good Lord. So I got to ask, just completely outside of this stuff. Apparently, you are an unbelievable cook. And you've got this.
I had no idea where that question was going.
I know.
And I just got so nervous.
Where could it have gone? Well, I want to know. Apparently, there's a restaurant in New York that you like so much.
Carbone.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you took one of the recipes. You're like, I can't take this on the road, so I'm going to make this on the road.
Yeah.
So what is it?
I had to trial and error it a lot of times to make it right. Okay. It's a spicy rigatoni. Okay. So it's a dish made of, and this is so funny because I'm allergic to gluten, but I eat it anyway.
Everything good is gluten, right?
I know, it really is. It's I can't give everything away, but it's rigatoni with a vodka sauce and caramelized onions and pepper flakes, and when I make it personally, I throw a little extra cheese in just because I think it, that's just how
You can't really go wrong with that.
I like
it.
No. But it's so good. It's so good, and it's my big trick. If
your impress people meal.
Oh yeah, if I'm doing a magazine cover and the journalist is coming over my house, I'm like, let me cook, because then you'll be really nice to me.
So most of us would just get that catered, but you're like,
no way, I want to cook. I love cooking. It's really therapeutic for me. I'm notorious for not using recipes and never measuring anything. I do everything by eye, always. I always have. It just kind of is second nature to me. I never taste anything before I serve it, which is super messed up.
So it's roulette.
I know.
All right, pasta roulette.
But sometimes I do if it's if I think I need to, but most of the time I'm just I don't even think. I'm just in there going. And a lot of people don't think about this, but I'm a musician, so I never have a kitchen. My tour bus doesn't have a kitchen. My hotel room doesn't have a kitchen. My green room doesn't have a kitchen. Yeah. So when I have a stove and an oven, I'm I want to use it. It's a luxury for me. People think you go home and you're tired and you want to order out and don't want to cook. But I'm I've been on the road for 6 weeks. This is the first time I've literally had a stove in front of me. I'm going to cook. It's fun.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
One last question. I got to ask about BTS.
Okay.
I got to ask about BTS because you look, the second we saw the video, it looks like you're having so much fun in the video.
Yeah.
It looks like you had a blast together. What are they really like, and what was your experience and how that all came together?
They're awesome. I've been singing their praises for the entire time that we've done, the collaboration, and I think we'd been friends before we did the song. But we like rapid fire connected, like once we did the record and we were hanging out all the time, and like and I really got to know each of them individually in a way, which was really.
And there's 7 of them. There's a lot to get to know.
Totally. But I was privileged enough to spend enough time with them, you know what I mean, where I could kind of like forge my own connections. And we're all almost the same age. I think the youngest is like 2 years younger than me. The oldest is like 2 years older. So we're all within the same age and
going through the same things.
Yeah, totally. And you know, both have wanted this, you know, for our whole lives, and both want to make our families proud, and both are kind of perfectionists, like in a way, and you know, I felt so special doing the collaboration with them because, you know, they get to be around each other all the time. I'm a solo artist, so it can get kind of lonely for me sometimes, and it was almost like, I don't know, I had this little family for a while while we were making the song, and we'd all laugh, and if I messed up during a rehearsal, you know, they were so supportive, and like we would both all of us would come in like exhausted in the mornings and like just perk each other up, and like I don't know, it really felt like having a family. It kind of made me envy them a little bit that they all get to be together all the time. But it was really special. The coolest thing about it was watching a machine that big operate the way that it does, so effortlessly and so authentically, to see, you know, how happy they are, how much they really get along, and how much they really love what they do. Because you never know, you know, and they really do. And so it was like every time I would leave them, I'd get like so sad. I'd be like, I don't want to go away from BTS. I want to hang out with BTS more. Like, I gotta go be alone now. Like, okay, yeah. Well, so that was real.
It was. It looked real on camera, and it was a lot of fun. And anyway, thank you so much for your time. Really
yeah, of course.
And break a leg tonight.
Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.